Welcome back to another episode of the Autism Our Story podcast. Today, I have the opportunity to chat with Jimi Taylor. Jimi is the father of a non-speaking autistic young man named Aiden. Aiden is a speller. I met Jimi through my son's spell to communicate teacher, Kelly. And today we're going to be talking about Aiden's spelling journey and how Jimi and his family found out that Aiden is telepathic and that he has other gifts. Jimi, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you. I'm going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, and we're going to start from there.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it. As you said, my son, Aiden, he is 21, non-speaker with autism, and we've been spelling about almost 5 years now. Yeah, as you said, we share the same practitioner.
Yes.
And I had actually heard of your son's story briefly from her because he's a young guy, and he's one of the youngest I've heard to be trying this. So kudos to you guys for jumping in and taking part, and it's exciting times.
Thank you. Yeah, he started at 4, and yeah, back then he was, I think, the only one at his age at 4 doing it. So yeah, I just feel like it's never too early to start. Even though they might say you need to start at 7 or 8. I don't know what the age is, but I just feel like there's even more kids now that are starting at a younger age, just like my son did, and they're doing amazing. So yeah, it's always good to start early. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it reminds me of when we enter into this world of autism with our children. One of the first things that is advocated is early intervention with everything,
Yes.
with behavioral or dietary, schooling, all kinds of stuff. So it makes sense that we should be advocating an early intervention with spelling also, because they clearly, as we're learning that, just like there's people, I hear stories of people in their 60s that are just learning how to spell. So there doesn't seem to be an age requirement, certainly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So yeah, I kind of wanted to start from what happened the day that I went to ask you if you were interested in doing an interview with me. Our son's spell to communicate practitioner, she had given me your number, and I went to text you and just wanted for you to share what happened that day, because it was pretty wild.
Yeah, I actually had when Aiden's doing his spelling, that's when I have a brief opportunity to run out and do some errands. So just to start off with that, I'm Aiden's primary caregiver, so I'm home with him 24/7. So on the weekends when my wife is home and family's here, I'll get out and do errands then. But when he's spelling, I'm able to jump out. So yeah, we had our conversation outside of the house, and then I came home, and Kelly, she asked Aiden if he was interested in being on a podcast, I think, or if he had any interest in being on a podcast. And he spelled to her, "I've already been invited." And I think he named you. I think he said, Nicole already asked my dad, or he may have said already asked me.
Yeah.
And so that was funny.
Yeah, it's amazing how he's able to just know that.
It's always a little surprising, but those sort of things have been happening for a while now. And it seems to be with me. And if Aiden is addressed, or if something is going on that has to do with him, it's like he picks up on it. The radar kind of goes up, and he knows.
Yeah.
I can't help but bring up the telepathy tapes here, because that's blowing up, and everyone is starting to learn, and we're cluing into what's going on. There's a lot of stories out there on the telepathy tapes that are explaining stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Could I even say that the telepathy tapes might have come to help you feel seen, not feel so alone? Did you ever feel like you were maybe the only ones going through this?
Yeah, since starting the telepathy tapes, it is that was the just the amazing piece for me. And now the such a common thread running through it when you hear everyone's story is that we all seem to have started out in the same place and wondering if this is real, if this is really happening. And then, of course, no, we have no idea that anybody else is going through it at all. The
Yeah.
only person that I could share it with was Aiden's practitioner. So she has been with us on the journey, really, pretty much since the beginning of the of me sharing stories with her. I think this happened. I don't know, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's been amazing to feel. To discover that you're part of a community that you had no idea ever existed. You know, the part of the whole struggle and tragedy of autism is that it's so isolating. And
Yeah.
so it isolates us as families also, because we know we're out there, but we never there's just not there's not meet and greets, there's not play dates. All
Yeah.
that stuff is void for these guys. So to be connected in this way, it has been and continues to be part of the great experience of this all.
Yeah. I just love that families like you who have had, these things happening before the telepathy tapes were able to have that. And also there's families like ours where I can relate to a few things, but it's not like these big occurrences. We didn't see much of that, but it does help families like us to. It gives us hope, and it gives us, just like we're finally able to understand our children's worlds. Our son is still young. Maybe these things will happen in the future for him, or maybe not. But we have noticed certain things that were mentioned in the telepathy tapes too, and it just helps. It just helps to know. For me, at least, it helped me actually accept my son's autism diagnosis fully, because I did struggle with accepting, but because I didn't know much, but the telepathy tapes came to just shed light to everything, and I know it also brought a lot more mysteries, but just knowing that there's a reason for what's going on helps. So
Absolutely. And his age group and him specifically, it's going to be really interesting as these guys become open to hear what they have to share, because so far it seems like, because the spelling is relatively new, that the age group that has discovered it has suffered, has without a voice and been trapped in their bodies for a significant amount of time.
yeah,
And these guys, like your son, that feeling is still there, but they have thankfully found a way earlier. So it'll see. I'm sure the gifts are there, and it'll just it's like the next wave of how they'll express it and what they have to
yeah,
share about it. It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yes, definitely. I do feel like they will have a different story to tell, and they do see that these things are happening, and I know they know what's going on, so they're very hopeful, to be able to get their voices. Like my son is not yet open, but he's starting soon. So yeah, I'm excited for him, but I do see sometimes that he definitely knows um that I don't know how to explain it. He is aware that he's not able to communicate, and he does feel sad. You can see he has been listening to some sad music that my intuition has been telling me that he's trying to communicate the sadness that it is to be trapped in your body and in your brain for yeah. So yeah, but he at least has hope and will be able to share his own thoughts soon. But yeah, they definitely will have a different story to tell.
Yeah, and it reminds me of also of a situation, an experience I had with Aiden, which was a big shift, was when I realized that he knew that I know. And so that spelling piece is so critical, because we're learning that these guys, they're in there. They're just trapped in a body that doesn't work for them. And the whole idea of the presumed competence is so important. And so I guess what I'm saying is that he knows,
Yeah.
he knows that you and your husband know that he's in there. And now it's sort of just he's like training, it's like the physical therapy and the occupational therapy of muscle memory and all that. But it's but he knows, and what's at the sort of the, I don't want to say the finish line, but that
Yeah, but
being open is coming.
how did you find out that Aiden had this ability?
Well, it didn't start till he was open, and I've been his communication partner um, through all of this.
Yeah.
And it really happened sort of organically, where we would be spelling, and I had this feeling that I knew he was going to say that. And it kept happening more and more, but he wasn't answering novel questions. It wasn't yes or no, and I was guessing. These were like words that I didn't know. I had no anticipation that he would be saying it, And an interesting side note is with the spellers is we start learning about their personalities just by the way they use words and phrase sentences.
Yeah.
So, for instance, in the beginning, to describe something, Aiden would say totally. And I had no anticipation that he would say, I totally love that movie. If you
Yeah.
ask, how do you feel about this movie? And he would say that, and he's going for the T and the O and the T. And so it seemed to be at first this anticipation when he starts words like, oh yeah, he's going to say that. But then for me, it got to the place where I would present the board and a full sentence would come into my mind, and it was correct. And that's how I describe it is because people are curious as to what is it like. And it seems, again, listening to the tapes, that there's a lot of different ways it comes in for people. But for me, and still is, it's just, you have an idea of, in your head, it comes in like an idea, and it's correct all the time. And so that was happening, and I kept it to myself. I was like, is this really happening? And then one day I asked him, I said, Aiden, sometimes I think I know what you're going to say. And he held his finger up he was ready for the board. I gave him the board, and he said, you do, Dad. We share the same brain. And so that's how it's started. And that was interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. Oh my goodness. So did he explain any more? Like, how does that work?
Well, back then, I immediately started looking into telepathy to try to find that out on my own. Like, how is this happening? But before that, I can say this is how I made sense of it, is that when you are the communication partner of a speller, it's crucial that you are accurate, you're there for them, you are regulated yourself, your mind is focused, because they're depending on you. And so when I was beginning this and looking back on it, like you're asking, I realized that I had never been so present in the moment in my life. And I had an interest in it, and always pursued um, meditation and
Mhm.
spirituality, and always have had an interest in this life. But I'd never, I just had never been in the moment like that, and I think that's why, and that's why this is happening.
Okay.
And I've read that it is common, and research shows people with a deep connection with each other will have telepathic experiences with each other. And usually the caregiver or a parent has that type of relationship with the child. And on so that was the situation for me.
Mhm.
But also it was this presence that, like, I needed. He's relying on me to either coach his motor or just do what it is necessary to spell.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it came through and continues to come through. And I think and I actually have heard somebody on the tapes in the latest episode, I think, the one about the Q&A from parents
Yeah.
and practitioners, and
Yes.
somebody, a woman, had said something similar, and that really, it resonated with me, that if you are able to be in that place, and it's crucial anyway, to for because we need to be regulated as they need to be regulated also. And um and that seems to be what happened for me.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that's one thing that I have been trying to work on myself. I have heard that meditation is what's key, and just being present. And they've also mentioned emptying out, which is meditation. So, yeah, that's good to know, for any, like for me or parents that might be wondering how they can be present, because it does help with how the spelling or any spelling session will go, or if they would like to be open, they will start to be open with you. It's if you are regulated, if you are emptied out, and all those things. So yeah, that's all good information. It's good to know.
I just wanted to add too, it is a crucial step in being successful as a communication partner with your
Mhm.
speller, as a whether it's your child or um, as a professional practitioner,
Yeah.
because there are times when it's not the right time to spell. If a speller is having a difficult day and they are clearly dysregulated, um, what we learn going through the process is that in order to for them to be the best speller they can be, their regulation needs to come down, and we are a big part of that to help them regulate. And so similarly, what we're saying is, just to walk into a session is important, to just take a minute, check yourself. Is there, are you holding on to anything? And because it will interfere with the sort of the fluidness of the session. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even Kelly has shared with me that sometimes, if it's not a good, if she's might have had a not a such a good day, she will just, message me and just say, sorry, we're not able to do today. And I appreciate that. I do, because why do it if you already know it's not going to be the best situation?
It reminds me of when I learned about this, what uh, I had heard about people who do any sort of healing work with their hands. So, say a massage therapist, and just the transfer of energy. So, if we put our hands on somebody in a healing modality, our energy is coming through us and is affecting that person. And if we are filled with negative energy, that is going to come out. And so it is similar to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It really does. Even as the spellers have shared, our emotions affect them a lot. So yeah, that's something that, yeah, we as parents have been really trying to work on, to make sure that we're regulated, even not when not just when we're spelling, but
Right.
in our day-to-day lives, just making sure we have good thoughts, good intentions towards anybody around us. All those things really help our children to be also regulated, because it does affect them.
It is. It's part of the gift that they're giving us too, is that
Yes.
they are definitely changing our lives for the better because um, so many people, myself included, just in your day to day, how you can get taken away by your
Yeah.
thoughts, by your emotions,
Hmm.
and but when we're working with our spellers, it's so important. And as you're saying, and then it carries over even into parenting their siblings.
Yes.
The same stuff applies,
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely. It has helped us in how we parent our neurotypical kids.
yeah,
It just it works the same way. Our emotions can affect our neurotypical kids too. You know.
right.
How does your son explain telepathy, and also what does he think about the telepathy tapes?
He, as far as explaining it, he has sort of more so. If I ask him sort of, is this how it works? He has assured me that that is correct in a sense. So um, I haven't really fully asked him just to say, hey, what's going on here? Can you tell me how this all works?
Okay.
But in little snippets, it seems to be, um, again, what we're learning from the telepathy tapes is, I think, across the board for all these guys, and um, it's energy, and and it's frequency, and it seems to be that they're able to access it all the time. Whereas, as we were previously talking about, where we need to quiet our minds and try to, um, find a way to access it or hope to access it, they're always there. And um, and again, the more we learn about it, it seems to be a more desirable form of communication
Yeah.
for them, especially communicating amongst themselves.
Yeah.
So we listen to all the episodes, and then I just kind of ask him how does he feel about those, and he just gives quick sentences of I love it, great episode, I totally agree, that kind of thing.
Oh, good. Have you heard of other non-speakers that are not very excited about the telepathy tapes? So he definitely is one of the ones that are happy for this information to be out there.
Oh yes, absolutely, definitely. And I have read some posts on what you're saying, what you're referring to from spellers. Um, and I asked him about it, and he said, one of the guys I read to him, he said he has a good point, but I disagree with him. I think Aiden is definitely on the side of things that everybody needs to know this. He wants to be an activist and to get the word out. He wants me to do it and tell as many people as I can. And I don't think anything can stop this, and
Yeah.
it's really amazing. And if anything, it's and I can't. I'm hesitant to. I can't really speak to the non-speakers as to that.
Yeah.
That fear or that they have. That somehow this could be limiting the access of others. I think it'll come. I think it's a huge tsunami. That's just in a recent episode, somebody or another podcast I was listening to, a speller mentioned it's like walking up one side of a seesaw, and you're at that point where it's
Yeah.
just gonna keep going. We're at a
It's
turning
no.
point. And
Mhm.
so I think with the schools and access, and I think it's going to work itself out, and it's already being talked about actively about how do we get this simple technology to the millions of people that need it, and which
Yeah.
is why the tapes are so huge. So um, yeah, I it's complicated for sure, but I think it seems to be a similar pushback, and but it is interesting to see see spellers um, with this opinion, and sort of how everybody has their own opinion, and
Yeah.
everybody has their own personality, and even and um, it's amazing to see. So
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like they have, like what he said, that those spellers definitely have a point. But the schools are going to have to, the system, or I don't know, the educational system, they're going to have to accept it. There's no way this is going away. It is happening in classrooms with teachers that sometimes don't want to say, talk about it because they're afraid, but it is happening. It's not something that we can just start to be hush hush about and hope it will go away. That is not going to be, it's a disservice to, you know, these kids have been shut down for so long, and it's just not fair that for this to be shut down again. So I feel like the ones that feel like I mean, they might be afraid because it's going to get in the way of getting the spelling boards in schools. They have a point, and they do deserve to be heard, but it doesn't mean that this other side should be shut down because they also have a point. This information has been it's been so helpful and it's changed so many lives. Our families, everything has changed for me personally, um, and so I feel like it's very important for this information to get out there. Um, yeah. Uh, so,
absolutely. I think another thing that is on display with this what's going on, and what we're talking about is um, as you said, the system itself, our educational system and special ed, and it's massive amounts of money.
mhm,
And but the budgets are starting to really inflate, especially under the special education line item.
yeah,
And because so much, especially in my area, is because of outplacement.
yeah,
Because as these kids mature, and they're trapped in this body that doesn't work for them. Everything is being labeled as behaviors, and we're learning more and more that ABA is not necessarily the
helpful.
best gold standard that we were told, and we thought so. We thought that's what he needed,
Yeah,
um, but we learned from these guys it's not. But it's so expensive,
yeah,
especially in our state. It could be $100,000 to outplace a student for a school year.
yeah,
Now, and what we're talking about is essentially my shirt. This is the letterboard. That's
yeah,
it. That's the technology, and
mm,
so we need the paras. The kids will still probably need a one-on-one ratio, probably, but maybe not. And they just need to be trained with a letterboard, which is
yeah,
8 by 11, styrofoam laminate piece of
yeah,
paper size, and that's it. And
yeah,
so I guess what I'm getting at is I think um, when the people making the financial decisions clue in to what's happening, I think they'll start making that decision because it's going to save them a lot of money.
yes, absolutely.
Not only is it is what these guys want and what these guys need, and I've heard it put, the best way I've heard it put is it's like not offering Braille to a blind student.
Yeah,
It's a FAPE issue, a fair and appropriate public education. It's a
yeah,
civil rights issue, and this is the way these guys communicate. And
yeah,
and how could you how could you hold it back,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way they communicate. It's like it's their right. It's their civil right to be able to have access to the way they communicate best.
Yeah, and just to point out again, because I know there's people that will listen to this who are not in it yet and not
Yeah.
involved in it yet. And this point that I know I've said a few times is that these guys are trapped in bodies that don't work for them. That's motor function, and speaking is a motor function.
Yeah.
And the at least from the spelling to communicate modality that we learned, the genius of that was to attempt to move communication from fine motor, which is our speech, to gross motor, which
Yeah.
is this. And it unlocked it and continues to unlock all these people.
Yes.
And everything we do in the school setting to test these guys is motor.
Yeah.
And the more people learn about this and get into it on their journey, it's all out there. It's very articulate, very learned, very have studied this stuff, and really know what they're talking about. And it's just it makes so much sense.
Yes.
But I guess what I'm getting at too is the huge point is you can hear me talk about this, but until you see somebody do it, somebody that we say is highly disabled and there's no way this person's going to be able to do it. When you see somebody do it, it's shocking. It's life-changing. And those videos are out there now. And the Spellers movie is a good place to start for that. Even just watching the trailer of that on YouTube, just to see people with letterboards pointing and spelling. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's always life-changing when the first time you see it, you cannot deny it. It's there. And
yeah, that's what just a quick story. That's what did it for us is we went to visit a woman who's similar to us. She discovered it before us and opened up her son, and then she became a practitioner. So over the course of a weekend, we went to her place Saturday and Sunday, and I met her son, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So we went and we did it, and it was it was very interesting experience. But seeing her son, Aiden wouldn't get out of the car, so she got in the back of the van with him, and her son came out with his communication partner, and she said, "Hey, Aiden's having a tough time," and he looked over at him and just like started banging on the board and said, "Hi, Aiden." Essentially, he said, "Don't worry about it. You're going to do great." And I couldn't believe it. And just to see him, this whole experience, he was moving the pencils through the stencil board, which is what this is a picture of.
Yeah.
So we did that. We had that experience. We're like, all right, we'll give this a try. And we did it when we could, for a few months. It was a long distance we drove. But then the book, so that was in the autumn of 2019, I think. And then in March of 2020 was when the book Underestimated came out by J.B. Hanley. And we read that in a weekend, and then we were all in, and we tried to get as many sessions as we could, and we were doing 3 times a week for a long time. So
that's amazing. Hi, thank you so much for being here. If you're enjoying this interview, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel, or maybe commenting. Let us know what you think about what's being talked about here today. Interacting with this video would really help it to be pushed to more people that could benefit from this kind of content. I really appreciate your support. So how long after that did you become an open speller?
It took about 12 months for Aiden. And from what we had heard at the time, he moved very quickly.
Yeah.
And on, for instance, on iAsk, their website, they say anywhere from 16 to 18 months. But maybe because we packed in a lot of
Yes.
sessions, and my wife did a lot of work with him on the weekends and reading lessons and we just went all in, as
Yeah.
most people do. But yeah, it was about 12 months. Then we flooded them with all the questions. What's your favorite color? What
Yeah.
what do you want to paint your room? Do you like your room? How about your bed? So it was so fun just getting to know him
Yeah.
and him, all the music that he likes and all of that stuff. Yeah.
That's very exciting, getting to know him. So did you notice any difference in him? Like how did him getting his voice finally impact his quality of life?
Well, a huge thing is when these guys can begin to advocate for themselves, and
Yeah.
that's the dream, is that and is that one day these guys can speak for themselves in whatever regard. So
Yeah.
that was amazing, just letting me know. I'd give him a bowl of soup and he wasn't eating it, and I'd
Mhm.
say, "Hey, Aiden, can you tell me about the soup?" And he'd say, "It's not hot enough, Dad. Can you
Oh.
heat it up?"
Mm.
So those little things, were really amazing. Uh,
Yeah.
but having spoken about the school system, what was very interesting was when we were going through this process, um, we were um, working with the school. It was a good process to have Aiden outplaced, and we were successful. So Aiden was outplaced to an ABA school, um, completely for special needs children. And while he was there, he became open.
Okay.
And once he became open, he told us he doesn't want to be there anymore. He wants to go back to the high school. So that
Okay.
was really shocking. And
Yeah.
that's when he shared his thoughts about ABA and how, and I'll just say, and the problems that he had with it and
Yeah.
the lack of presumed competence. I could say it that
Mhm.
way.
Okay.
So that was really amazing, having, initially as parents speaking up, complaining and saying, look, he's not being given the proper education that he needs here. We don't
Yeah.
think you can provide that. We want him to go here. That whole process, it happens, and then then to call the school and say, hey, we want to come back.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing. But I think also that's what sort of motivates me to say about the budgets and that, because we went through that.
Yes.
It's not the answer, and so that was really ironic, and that was a huge, obviously, moment of self-advocation on his part to
Mhm.
come back to the school. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's good to see him be able to advocate for himself and say, yeah, this is not working for me. So did he share, like, aside from just an, you know, from them not presuming competence, I hope that that didn't create any kind of trauma in him. Did he share anything about that?
Hmm. Um, Not really, and I never asked him anything along those lines, which I should. But I think he was more. It was just because he was 17 at the time, so he was just very frustrated of being treated like
Like
a
it's
little
a
kid.
little bit. Yep.
And that seems to be what's kind of built in to that,
Yeah.
because if you don't get the task correct, um, you you're treated. For instance, I'll give this example. If there's three balls, a blue, a red, and a green one, and you ask Aiden, can you grab the green ball for me, and he grabs the red ball.
Yeah.
And what we've learned now is that he knows what red is and he understood the command, but in that model, you're treated as if you don't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know his colors. So immediately now you're regressed back to like a toddler sort of mentality of somebody who needs to be told this way and then taught colors, or if they're different shapes, maybe grab me the square and you grab the rectangle or the triangle, the block. And that's part of the motor. That's part of the apraxia, is that
Yeah.
he wanted to reach out, but his body doesn't go where it wants to go.
Yeah.
It's through the spellers now that we're learning that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really something that I hope a lot of parents, I mean, everyone, even the professionals, teachers, they need to know that information, but starts at home, really. Parents also need to understand that, to start presuming competence and knowing that your child's body is not working for them, it goes against them. I feel like for some reason I've just been feeling like I need to advocate just to start with the parents, because they will be the ones to then advocate for their kids in schools. A lot of parents don't really realize what's going on, that are not, familiar with the spelling method and all the things. They don't understand. They might feel like, even for me, I can relate. There was a time that I did not know, or I thought my son didn't understand what I was saying, or he didn't know his colors, or all those things. But now I know that's not true. And it's hard because it's something that you kind of have been taught for a long time. It's like that's the standard for you. And then to learn this, it's hard to learn to presume competence. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's very important. Yeah, so yeah, that's one thing that I hope parents can start to understand, that if you talk to your child and they don't seem to understand, that doesn't mean that they're not understanding you. It really can help if you start to realize that.
I agree. And I think that's part of the shift. That's what's happening. That's part
Yeah.
of what we've been talking about with the tapes and that
Yep.
tsunami that's coming. It's for us too, because culturally as a society, that's what we do. We judge people on how their body works for them. And the more we dive into this and we hear people sharing their stories, it's out there, and we can learn from each other, and it's a shift that we have to make in our own lives to, I guess, to just not be so quick to judge.
Yeah.
And that's what really this is, I think, waking us up to as parents, though, that
Yes.
presumed competence piece. Yeah.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on the people that are trying to disprove spelling and how they're saying that it's not a viable means of communication?
There's something out there called facilitated communication.
Mhm.
And I think it's getting lumped in with that conveniently for people who don't want to adjust and make their shift into a new paradigm of education.
Yeah.
And the idea being that the speller is not independently expressing themselves, that somehow you, who is holding the letterboard, is directing them, is manipulating them. It's your words, it's your thoughts that they're saying. And it goes into that place of once you see it, that there's no doubt. In the beginning, when you watch somebody that's training and learning the system, there is more coaching going on, but somebody who's open and fluent on the letterboard, there's no doubt about it. So I think the more as the numbers grow, it's just going to be overwhelming, because
Yeah.
all of the parents, all of us, we're already advocates for our children with special needs. But now that we know there's something out there that is truly beneficial, we can't not talk about it, and especially
Yeah.
with schools. And so I just think they're holding on to an old system that
Yeah.
is entrenched for a long, long time, and now
Yeah.
we're witnessing a shift, and this is this is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. I feel like it's hard for a lot of people to just admit that they might have been wrong in
Well,
certain
there's that.
things.
Yes. Actually, I've heard those stories just in our own personal educational journey of past teachers that have learned about Aiden's story. They do feel guilt almost,
Yeah.
that why didn't I know this? How could I have not seen it?
Yeah.
So there's that too, which
Yeah.
which is being pretty hard on yourself, but
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because another thing that they need to know, that we need to know, that they've shared, is that they're very forgiving. We know that
yes,
there's such they're very empathetic. They understand that we don't know what we don't know.
right,
And um yeah, I even as parents, we feel the guilt because we don't know, and we wish we knew, but um yeah, our kids are very forgiving. I still do feel kind of guilty for certain things, certain decisions I made for him that may have been not the best for him, but I didn't know. And I can't wait for the day when I can, ask ask my son for forgiveness. And
yeah. With ourselves and the teachers and the practitioners, it's important to remind ourselves that at the time, with the information that we had, we made the best decisions that we could.
yes.
So, but now this is coming forth, and it's exciting, and there's so many people with a similar story,
Yeah.
that now we can make better decisions.
Yes, absolutely. So what are some misconceptions that people may have about Aiden or others like him?
Well, I think the misconceptions go hand in hand about what we've been talking about as what needs to shift and what is happening now. So Aiden is still physically presents as somebody with disabilities, physical
Mhm.
disabilities, and he certainly does. His body does not work for him. So it's the misconception is that the body is representative of the whole, and it's interesting because it's similar. A lot of things start overlapping, and I was talking to Aiden's younger brother recently, and essentially saying that, like, we were talking about how cells are constantly regenerating in the body, and that as you grow older, you really don't have the same body that you had. We don't travel with the same body. Our organs regenerate every 7 years, I believe, and our skin cells are constantly dying and shedding, and we're just not this thing. We're more than that.
Mhm.
And it's so much clearer in, say, Aiden's situation, and all of these guys, is that for so long we have judged them by how they present physically. And I think it's again one of these overlapping messages that we're all learning about, being human, is to get beyond that, because there is someone inside these bodies that
Yes.
is different, and so much so that within the spelling to communicate language is what's called a brain body disconnect.
Yeah.
Body is literally not working for how he wants it to. So if I want to reach and pick up this pen right now, no problem. Sometimes these guys get frozen, and it takes them minutes and minutes and minutes just to
Yeah.
get themselves to move their arm. Same
Yes.
thing with spelling, using the letterboard. Aiden has ocular apraxia, which is a new term we learned, where his eyes don't move volitionally. He can't just scan the page. He really has to move from letter to letter with his eyes, and it's very tiring.
Yeah.
So we learn so much now about the body. So I think those are the misleading preconceptions that people have, and which is just a reflection, I think, of culturally how we view each other. So that's what I think.
Absolutely. My last question for you would be, what is something that Aiden has taught you about life?
I think everything that I've been sharing in the perspectives is because of Aiden's journey and his situation, and that he has certainly taught me that just giving and being in service of somebody else is what really matters, and in that process that you do receive, in giving you receive,
Yeah.
and being there for these guys, as well, for him, has certainly changed my life. And again, all those pieces that I mentioned, just being present more, just being aware of my own regulation, and um, slowing down, being available for him. Those sorts of things have really been a major shift for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this, for being willing to share your story,
Sure.
and Aiden's story. I do hear Aiden. Thank you, Aiden.
Thanks, Aiden. Yeah, he actually pretty soon will have his spelling session. So
All right. Oh, that's
great.
good.
But thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you taking the
Thank you
time.
so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can get notified whenever I post new content. Until next time.